All right, starting off this Sunday clinic. I'm going to screw your name up, Coach, so you can beat me up later at a meeting or something. Gelsomino.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm a dumb country boy. Remember that. I don't know.
Right.
Coach is the head coach at York. They had a great season. They're doing great things. He's here to present some defensive stuff for us. The enemy of us offensive guys is this defensive stuff. Coach, thanks for being here. The floor is yours. Let me put this up for you and go right ahead.
Well, appreciate it. If there's guys out right now, you just type message in the chat, Coach Steve, as we go along. Just throw them at me if there's anything up there. I'm recording all this stuff too, so we'll be able to put it out later. Yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about today is creating a defensive philosophy from the ground up. Right, Coach Gelsomino, head football coach at York, and one of the things that we've taken a lot of pride on at York in kind of our rebuild with Coach Fitz and me taking over is really getting the correct mentality out of our players, and looking at, what did we think we were good at and then wasn't showing up on film, and then creating our philosophy and our brand kind of around that. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit here today. So first, we're going to talk about my philosophy, coaching philosophy, how to build this, how to build your own philosophy, how we pick a scheme, because a scheme, we should be mirroring our philosophy with that. Our mentality, some practice plan stuff, and then how we mirror all that together, some goals and how we evaluate, and then give you some contact info if you want to reach out. Number one, a lot of people have heard this saying, and if you haven't, it's the best saying of all time, especially for high school football. Jimmy's and Joe's over X's and O's. Finding your best 11 in any situation that you have is definitely one of the most important things you need to be able to do. You are coaching high school football players. They're not full-time employees. We're coaching kids this might be the most important thing in their life. It might be the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. We don't know, but we need to coach with an understanding of that, trying to get the most out of them. Coach because I love it, love football, love helping kids reach a goal they didn't think was possible. And at the end of the day, it's not all about wins and losses, but you should be able to enjoy a win. You should be able to feel bad about a loss. So defensive philosophy, and I think this is the most important thing that a lot of people forget about, is that a good defense does not mean a good scheme, right? There are way up more important things than just your scheme to playing a good defense, right? Running around, tackling, effort, reads, all sorts of things like that, right? Just go through the state of Illinois where we're from, and we have pretty much every defense you could think of. And if you look through all the state champions and all the people that went downstate, you see everything. 4-3, 3-4, 3-3, 4-2-5, different coverages, right? Seeing quarters, cover three, you're seeing all this different stuff. It all works, right? So yes, you need to have a very solid scheme, but that doesn't mean you're going to play great defense. So we need to pick the scheme that you know the best and works the best for your program, right? And if the scheme you know the best doesn't necessarily fit your kids, then maybe you need to look into some other schemes and learn some other things so you could fit that better. Effort and tackling can overcome a whole lot of mistakes that you might make as a coach or even as your players make. But if you can fly around and tackle people, that's going to help a lot. Know your base inside and out. All right. We see clinics. We're in kind of clinic season right now. There's an online clinic. You're learning. We're taking notes. We're writing this stuff down, this, that, and the other, right? But on Friday night, you can't call me up and ask me like, hey, it's 3rd and 10. What should I do here, right? You need to know it. You need to have the answers on Friday night. Have to be excited about what you're doing. Be excited. Have a little bit of energy. If your players don't get it, look in the mirror, right? We might have to adjust. If you've been doing something over and over and usually your kids get it and then one year they don't, okay, that might not be your fault. But if you keep going to something, you're like, man, I don't understand why they're not getting it. Well, either we're teaching it wrong or it's too complicated and we need to simplify. And so how do we build? I've been on a lot of different programs, a lot of different staffs, right? I'm in 8A right now, large 8A public school. I've been in kind of medium to large size private schools, smaller private schools, been in smaller public schools. So I've seen all sorts of different things, different schemes, different coverages. I've seen a lot. Okay. So what happened at York? So what we were doing here at York, and I'm just going to talk about this philosophy building, not some of the other ones of the past, but we want to emphasize a couple things: toughness, playing fast, and then playing physical, right? Why? Our players, when we would talk to them, they had a very good understanding of what they were supposed to do. But then you would watch the film and that wouldn't happen. Okay, well, why? Why is that not happening? Are these kids soft? Are they not lifting? Are they, so it comes out. The main thing we saw was we just weren't playing fast. We were playing very slow, even though we knew how to do it. So when you add the play fast, be tough, right, finish on the ball type things, that's kind of where we started from, right? We did have some very strong players, some very kids dedicated to the weight room. When we watched the film and it looked soft. Why did it look soft? Probably because we weren't playing fast enough, right? So it all kind of loops back to that. So as you're building your philosophies, what do you want to emphasize? Maybe you're a team that flies around, hits people, knocks people out. No one has any clue what they're doing, right? Well, maybe we want to emphasize do your job, right? Maybe it's the small things, it's the little fundamentals, it's discipline, it's right. All these different things are possible. We need to look in our program and what do we need to emphasize to be great? Like that's the biggest thing. So that tons of different ways to do it. That's what we kind of saw at York, and we wanted to emphasize. And I would definitely say, if you look at our film now, the one thing you will see is, wow, they're fast on defense. We play very fast on defense because that's what we wanted to get out of our kids. Here's our saying: we say, "Be the hammer." Hammer, right? Stands for something. H is hold the line. A is accountability. M is mental toughness. The second M, make a play. E is effort. R is rip it out. I love this little saying. I tell it to all the kids, especially at the beginning of camp, kind of around playoff time. If we're doing that, we're getting into a hard game, we bring this up, right? You could be 50% of your competition by consistently showing up and working hard. The next 40% is by urgency and attention to detail. But that last 10% is a dogfight, right? You're going to find somebody eventually that's as big, as fast, as strong, as tough, as smart as you. Now what? You're going to be the hammer or you're going to be the nail? And that's where our slogan kind of comes from. This is, right, very fortunate. As one of my linebackers, this was my linebacker gift one year. So it's not just something that we say, right? We believe in it. We have a mentality towards it. We understand what it means, right? And we use it. So that's a golf bag they got for me. Like I said, I'm pretty lucky. I got some great kids and some great families that bought me that. But it just shows you that what was sticking with them over time. Here was a situation of ours, and this is what having kind of a defense philosophy. And I'm going to go through some of these things and then how we will pull them out on film to then show our kids how it relates back to our philosophy. It's not just words, right? And I'll get to it in a second, right? Do words mean everything? No, you don't need a fancy slogan or a chant or this or that. I just think it helps constantly being able to relate some of the most basic things about playing defense, and then you can always tie it back and tie it back and tie it back. Like, hey, this is what we're really trying to do. We're trying to be fast and physical, right? We're trying to make sure everyone knows what they're doing. Bam, here's a play on film. Let's bring it back. So here on offense, we're losing this game. We're down 14-7 in the third quarter. And tragedy strikes because here's our quarterback rolling to his left. And I can tell you right now, by any coach here that just saw this, that is not good, right? They pick it off. They get all the way down to the 5-yard line. Now, no one on our sideline panics, right? Hold the line. We're saying hold the line before we go out here. We fast forward a few plays later, right? And when you truly believe in what you do and that you can do it, obviously this is a huge play in a football game, but hold the line. It doesn't matter where they score or where they get the ball. Our job is to defend something. And as we watch a huge play, you can watch the reaction of everybody, right? When you make huge defensive plays and buy into this, it's a team changer, momentum changer, season changer, right? Everyone can buy in and celebrate with it. Okay. Another key point, right? When we say like accountability, make a play, we are never going to ask you to do something you cannot do. So here's a very average size DN for us. He was about 6 feet, 190, maybe 200. He's going to have to wash the tackle on the down block, get underneath the trap, and if the trap still goes inside, he's going to have to make the tackle. It's not easy, but you can do it, right? It's part of our philosophy. We're not going to ask you to do something that you can't do. I know you can. I know it's difficult. Do it. You can do it. Pull it up on film. Hey, this fits right into what we're telling you. You can do it, right? This is a 3-yard gain, right? It's not going to make anyone's highlight film probably, but for us, this was our highlights. This was on our highlights for the week because that's a great play that fits into what we want. Football, we're going to watch this end here, right? Part of our philosophy. Make a play. It's not always going to be perfect. You're going to be held. You're going to be right. Cut block, this, that. You're tired. Make a play. Great, right? As many defensive coaches know, your kids come to the sideline and go, they're holding me. The only answer or the only thing you should say when the kid says they're holding me is you should look them in the face and say, I don't care, right? Make a play. Figure it out. They're going to hold you. The rest are going to make bad calls, this, that, and the other. Make a play. You can make a play, right? We didn't teach him to do any of that. He just did it, right? But he did it because he went hard, right? Knew what his responsibility was, went as hard as he possibly could. Chips off a double, spin move, go low, make a great tackle. Awesome. Effort. This is the fourth quarter of a game. We're up 28-10 right now. Probably out of hand. They probably can't win, but they could score an onside kick, and we want to kind of end it. So our first D is still out here. So when we talk about effort, right, this is what I mean by effort, right? Let's watch some of these kids here, right? We are completely and totally selling out. I highlight him because we get to the quarterback, we get the sack here, or tackle. I don't know if it was a sack or not. Just watch the effort. Watch how fast he's flying to the side. He's going to end up jumping over somebody and landing on the track, right? Like we're talking full out, as hard as you can go effort from wherever you're at on the field. Yes, you can coach this. Do you need to be a little bit loud and crazy to coach this? Yes, but you can coach it, right? You can coach as many people as you want sprinting as hard as they can to a football, right? You can coach it. I'll show you this one from the end zone. I love this one. All right, I'm going to point out this kid right here who tripped on the backside of the play. He didn't trip, he got blocked, but that's okay. All right. Coaching effort. So we saw what that play was, right? Quick screen. It was triple option. He throws it out here. All right. Our camera was a rainy game, obviously didn't move. He's getting tackled now, right? I froze it there. This is where the ball started. He's the only guy left, right? Obviously, because he's on the ground. Lyman's hand in his back, but that's all. When you say all 11 to the ball, that's what we mean, right? You get there. I love this one too, preaching effort and doing your job, right? This was a 7-on-7. This was actually at Northern. Stop going to this one. It's early in the summer. It's not a big deal. It's not a bad one, though. It's pretty solid. At Northern Illinois University, where you run 7 plays, and the first 7, if the offense gets 10 yards, they get a point. If they score a touchdown on a play from here, I think they got 7 points or something like that. But this is the point. We're preaching competition. It's early in the year, but we always preach it. This is a 7-on-7 drill, right, at the beginning of the season. He's going to throw it right here. Now, you might think if this is a catch, he should easily go up and get this first down. But we should be flying to the ball. It needs to be taught now. You can't be overly worried about hey, I want to really break down and make sure every single coverage is perfect. That doesn't matter if we're not flying to the ball, right? What matters most? This one is we get to rip it out here. All that. So here's a whole bunch of stuff that I've used in the past. And like I said, do you need to have something like this? Absolutely not. I just think it helps tie everything back to a foundation. And as we're going through the season, right, we can always come back to our foundation so that it's not just completely focused on scheme and stuff like that. So those are a whole bunch of different ones: ice, ace, earned, earn it, assert, dominant, right? I've used all these different things in the past. But you can take your own. There's a whole bunch of them around. Those are just some ideas. All right, so how do we build? So this is now scheme. So we start with our philosophy. Our philosophy was be the hammer, right? Flying around, all that good stuff. Have accountability for what you're doing. But how do you pick your scheme? Personally, because I've coached offense before too, I think an odd front is harder to run the ball against. And we really put a focus on stopping the run, done presentations and stuff like that before in the past, but like we put a major emphasis on stopping the run. So we're a 3-man front. We usually get kids, we get a lot of athletic linebacker type bodies. We just do. That's kind of what we get at York. We get them in all the sports. So we get a lot of these athletic type bodies. We don't always have these monster big guys. We have a couple now. We don't always get the best true like skill player athletes, but we get a lot of these athletic linebacker, tight end, running back type bodies. We get tons of them. So the 3-3, 3-5 kind of thing that we have at York really fits that, right? So much so that we usually take an undersized guy and put him at nose and give even more size to our O-line. Okay, that's what we get. The scheme that we built, right, kind of matches that. It goes all around that, right? So how would you pick your scheme to align with your philosophy? Well, if you're a school that tends to get a bunch of bigger guys and not a lot of athletes, you should probably have a 4-man front, right? Limit your amount of linebackers on the field. If you're a team that gets tons of great athletic skill kids that can maybe cover people, maybe you want to look at, some man-to-man stuff so you can load the box more and get some pressure that way, right? We need to know what we have, what we traditionally get, and then how to make it consistent throughout the years, right? So how you pick your scheme, what do you know best, right? Front coverage. What types of players do you normally get, right? Especially at a public school, you're going to get, if you look at like a 5 to 10 year time frame, you're going to get some pretty similar styles of player, right? That doesn't mean that doesn't fluctuate, but in general, you're going to fall somewhere. What do you normally get? And then what do you need to take away from the offense? Like I said, we were poor against the run. We put a major, major emphasis on that. And then what are you okay giving up? Right? We were okay giving up some things. Or I shouldn't say when I say giving up, say become weaker at. We were okay being a little bit weaker at some certain things in the pass game, which is why this front and coverage really worked well for us. So then how do we build? And I talk about this too when I talk about game planning, right? I think we try to reinvent the wheel a lot, especially on defense. No, right? We have our philosophy. We have our scheme. Can our scheme adjust to these, right? Do you have answers for these? So this is how I break down my categories of offense, right? I either say you can be a pro style, a spread power run, and these question marks mean maybe they have a running quarterback, maybe they run RPO, maybe they don't. Spread option run, they're running RPO and they have a running Q. If they were a pass or air raid team, QB is really only scrambling in that. Might maybe run some RPO. It could be a balanced spread, 50-50 run pass split. Wing T or gun T means they're not running option, right? They're really running wing T plays, traditional wing T plays. And then triple option, you can be in the I, the split, the flex bone with a running quarterback. So my first thought when I build a scheme is, can my scheme easily adjust to all of this? And when I install my scheme, am I installing this? See, we get into this mindset of finding everything on social media and like, oh, this will work, and this play will work, and this play will work. That's great. Will it work against a wing T? Well, no. Well, do you play 4 wing T teams? Yes. Well, then maybe that's not something we need to be installing in our base, right? Maybe that's something we need to work on down the road. Right? So meshing those two together of our scheme can fit all of this. Okay. So then we go to how do we install. We really hammer home our fundamentals for the first couple of weeks. Where we're at, we expect our players to know our systems are run freshman year up. In some cases, we have some offensive stuff down in our feeder programs too. And so they have a pretty good base understanding by the time they get to varsity of what they need to know. We work a ton on our base and hammering home what our fundamentals are, right? Be the hammer slogan. Hey, we're going to make sure we do all of these things really well from day one before really getting into some of our, our pressure concepts or this or that, or, some things that might be a little bit more fancy, for lack of a better term. Why? Because this is what wins games, right? Being really good in your base and being really fundamentally sound, following our philosophy, is what wins games. We wanted a philosophy to stop the run, play fast, play physical. That's what we need to focus on, right? We get too carried away in, right, scheme. Well, no, remember what wins. This is what wins. A few different mentality things. Is the coach, Coach Patrick Shannon. He's currently at St. Charles North, coaching some football up there for him. The military guy, he wrote this book, Football Tactical Training. There's a bunch of different concepts that he has for practice ideas and team building in this book. I pulled one huge thing out of it, and that is a response for players. Instead of just like, hey, guys, listen up, or you blow a whistle or this or that, right? We use eyes and ears. So, like I said, I modified it from hit books. So when I say eyes and ears, right, no matter what we're doing, the players have a verbal response to it, and that verbal response is click. Like you're clicking in your helmet, you're clicking your focus on something. It means they're listening and they're watching me. Help them focus in the field. We do it at practice. I've used it in the huddle in games. Right, there's a timeout. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Refocus. So whenever we need to refocus, we have this mentality so we can eyes and ears, and now we can truly focus on what's important. The last thing I'll talk about focus is music at practice. Definitely goes back and forth for me. Depends on the team, depends on what we're doing. It depends on a lot of different scenarios. If we start seeing it become too much of a distraction, we have to take it away a little bit, right? I think the energy is better when there's music. Sometimes the focus isn't there. So if the focus doesn't follow that, then we have to take that away a little bit. Because energy without focus on your job really isn't going to get too much done. My opinion. All right. Excitement, emotions. We compete in everything we do, right? Like outside of our 10 to 15 minute individual drills or 20, whatever they are for the day, like we're competing, right? We have competitive group indie is the segment, right? We start with a team competition. Like we're competing all the time. And we're also celebrating. I don't like losing. I'm not a big fan of it. I really don't like losing if we're losing because we're flat. So we're never flat at this, but we're going to compete, right? They have some fun trash talking with the offense and defense. Right? There's a limit to it, but we are always competing. We are fortunate. I'm at a big school that, I'm competing 11 on 11 all the time. I know that's not an option for somebody. I have been a head coach at a place where, there's sometimes we had 23 kids at a varsity practice. We needed to find ways to compete. That might be half line. It might be a certain drill. But you need to find ways to get your best players competing with each other. I'm not talking going to the ground and murdering everybody. I'm talking about drills where they have to. There's a winner and a loser, right? Competitive drills. Okay, this was a couple years ago when we had a quarterback competition. So, don't hate me because we were live on the quarterback here in August. I did not want to be, but I was overruled, and that was okay. This is a 4th and 1 drill where basically the ball goes to the 41. If you get it, it goes to the 31. If they get it, it goes to the 21, then the 11, then the 1. If you get stopped, so this is 1v1, first O, first D. If you get stopped, then the 2s come up, second O, second D, and then they do the drill. Okay? But if you make a big play, you get excited, right? Get excited. Get excited. Have some fun out there. This is what I love. This is our overtime drill. It's real simple, right? Our first O and second D are a team. So they're over here. Once again, we have the luxury to do this. We're a big team. You can do this with your JV team too and combine it together. So they're on this sideline. Our second O and first D are over here. We're a team. Okay. So the first D just went against the first O and made a stop. So what you're watching is here's our second offense, and that is our second defense. And if the second offense scores, we win the overtime drill. So on this sideline, you're going to see our first defense come into play here with a celebration. So I want to repeat this again. This is our first defense cheering on our second offense. Right. This is an August practice, probably at it's pretty late in the day. You can tell by the shadows, probably at 6 o'clock and everyone's dog tired, right? But this is how you compete in practice. That's our first offense first defense celebrating. So practice plans and game goals. Another thing we see, right? We have a lot of people have all these different game goals, and they're awesome. I like them. I love doing that. We have them too. But I remember years ago, all these game goals. We want to be, this on first down and this and then and right and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I put all this stuff up here. Have I talked about it? And have I emphasized why this is important? Right? Right? Is it part of our philosophy of what's really important to us? Right? Is it your game goals and your practice plans too should match your philosophy? Right? You take a second to think about that. Are we setting it up so that this is what we talk about? This is important. So this is what we practice that's important. And then this is what we emphasize that's important, right? This is our goal. So when we look at a game, are these important? Another thing to do, and this is more of an overtime thing, is really look at are your game goals, if you hit them all, are you winning or being successful off of that? Because there are times where I notice I put something in mental mistakes, right? And we made, obviously, I don't want to make any. There was a game we made 8 mental mistakes, and I wasn't happy about it. And we won by we played a pretty good defensive game, won by 3 touchdowns, right? Solid game. I think we lit up 7 points. We're obviously still teaching that we don't want mental mistakes. We're teaching reads. We're teaching all that stuff. But it didn't show up in the back end. So let's tweak that goal so that we know if we hit it, it means we were successful. Our practice plan will always have skills and drills that go back to our philosophy. We never lose sight of that. Excuse me. Our goals relate to our philosophies. I prefer a few simple goals over a bunch of them. I used to look at 10 to 15, whatever they are. I've really trimmed the goal part down for games to 4. I've trimmed that down to 4. We'll get to them there in a second here. So Practice plan. How does our practice plan match our philosophy? And some of these things are just simple that make sense. Some of them not. Okay. Some of them you got to work at, build in. So hold the line. We and I'm going to talk about my next talk too. We have competitive segments in every full padded practice. Once again, when I say competitive, it doesn't mean we're live going to the ground. Competitive means there's a winner and a loser. Like, period. You won, you lost. Here's the end of the drill, right? So we have a ton of them. And our drills are always set up that the defense is defending against something, right? We almost never just were like, oh, we're going to run 10 plays. Well, 10 plays of what? Is it first and 10? Is it, passing? Is it, 2-minute drill? Right? It's always set up that we're always defending something. So when I started to do this a lot more and really put a focus on it, I'd be like, all right, here, ball's down, let's go. First and 10. And I'd say the drill, right? First and 10. Kids would just look at me like, what's a down and distance? It's like once I started hearing that question a lot, it's like, oh, okay, we've made some progress in their mentality. Accountability, right? That's our do your job, right? We do our indie drills every day. Pretty simple, goes into it. Make a play. When your kids make a good play in practice, what do? Hopefully they celebrate, right? You make a big play in practice, you better celebrate, right? Have some fun. Used to hate it. We used to score on offense and our O-line would be like, yay, right? We're gonna get back. No, you just score, right? We made a big play. I want you guys to celebrate, right? For sure. We also work on drills that emphasize a losing position once in a while, right? We always want to get in this great position in the D line, right? We fire out, we extend, and right, our linebackers are in their perfect stance and everything. All right, what happens when the lineman's got you right here? Now what? What do we do? And we work on that, right? Because the play's not over. You can still fight back and make a play. Mental toughness. We don't at the end of this season, because when we had so many kids, we had like 100 on our roster for the playoffs. It was very hard to condition them in this way and get their lungs going. We're not like running conditioning anyway, a whole bunch of stuff. Our only conditioning is really done in football specific situations. So we will just run up tempo plays because that's as much conditioning as the defense really needs. And I'll call some like weird stuff, right? So that they really have to check their mentality when they're really tired. And when you have 100 kids, it's really hard to get through like 4 groups of that stuff. Once again, it's a great issue that we have. I don't even want to call it a problem. It's a thing we deal with. It's not a problem. Effort. Rapid fire, the drill that we do, it is our pursuit drill, but I don't even call it a pursuit drill because it's an effort drill more than it is a pursuit drill. We basically run 7-on-7. I think I have a few clips of me playing quarterback in this, and they're outstanding, of course. But it will show up on film. It will show up. It's not just a pursuit drill. It's a pursuit drill with a purpose that we're on guys for that are like scout plays. And then we have turnover stations built in for rip it out. So here is rapid fire. Like I said, there's me at quarterback. I probably just slung something here. Let's see. Okay. We run, and here's the drill. The offense is basically in like a 7-on-7 look, and we will run plays. They'll run real plays that the other team's going to run out of real formations. I'll pick one formation. We'll just go as fast as possible. Everyone's got to run to the ball. Everyone's got to tap off. If the ball ever hits the ground, we have to pick it up and score. Then everyone sprints back and gets set again. It's very simple, but, right, what we're trying to build is, you're not always going to have a perfect pursuit line on an outside run, right? You're in a pass rush, and then the ball gets thrown, right? You don't know where you're at. Reroute and find the football and sprint to it. That was a little later in the year. There we go. So let's talk game goals. I do the stats. Kids like the stats. I do like to know the production that our kids have. I simply do them when I watch the game for the first time. And then we grade. So we grade everyone that plays D, that plays on D, plays one snap with a letter grade. And that letter grade, basically everyone starts at a 75%. If you just do your job, simply do your job every play, you don't go above and beyond, you stay there. You stay at a C. That's fine. You have more effort, you make more production, all that stuff, your grade goes up. If you have lows or other stuff, your grade goes down. That's simple. Okay. And we have a baseline starting point for everybody of like some points, and here's how you can win points, and here's how you can lose points. But at the end of the day, they know how we feel they played, right? And they have to know that, other than just a conversation or like someone typing in, this was your grade based on what I saw on film. Defensive game goals. First goal is to win the football game. Second goal is tackle percentage. So tackling is obviously monstrous. We do it based on percentage. Some people do number of missed tackles. That's what I used to do. But it comes down to percentage because one game you might only have 30 chances to make a tackle because they threw the ball a lot. Next week you might have 60, 65 chances to make a tackle. So the percentage matters a little bit more. And the percentage we're looking for is 85%. I say if you are in the position to make a tackle and you don't make the tackle, then that is a miss. Some people will say, like, I have some different ways to do it. That's how I do it. Impact plays. So make plays that lead to stops. This was from Navy a couple years ago, right? These are a 3 and out, 4 and out, the same thing. If you get a sack that leads to a stop, a TFL that leads to a stop, turnover, or any fourth down stop. Those are impact plays. Explosive plays. This is the one I probably changed the most. But at the high school level, your plus-minus explosive play ratio is a major win predictor. It is at the higher levels too. I know in high school it's pretty high though. And then defensive efficiency. This used to be third downs and first downs and all that. But truly, every play matters. And a huddle will actually do this for you if you just type in if you are efficient or not. They will actually, if you have huddle assist, they do it for you. You can track loafs and turnovers, mental mistakes, play, right, all sorts of different things. But those are the game goals we have, really 4 specific defensive game goals that all go back to our philosophy. Are we making plays? Are we making tackles? Does every play matter? Are we accountable on every single play? This is what it'll look like for a season. So here's our tackle percentage that we give out, our attempts. So an attempted tackle basically is anytime they ran, so anytime that they had a completed pass or ran the ball and we tackled them, plus the misses. That's our attempts. The way I track and do solo tackles, I'm able to add it up a little bit easier, but pretty much that simple. So you can see it varies, right? Here we attempted 35, 34, 53, 46, right? So there's some vary in how many attempts you're going to get. I had forced turnovers at a time. I took forced turnovers off. I did a little bit of a study myself. Some other people chimed in on it, but it is in my opinion that you can definitely 100% force turnovers. I'm not trying to say this, but turnovers are way more of a product of bad offense than good defense. Can you track that and can you force them more over longer periods of time? Absolutely, right? Like Peanut Tillman is one of the greatest ever. We're talking about major outliers to what is really the reason you're getting turnovers, right? No explosive touchdowns. Pretty simple. We let up a lot of, I think every touchdown we let up that year was explosive. And then here's our defensive efficiency, right? 75%. This tracks every play. Basically, first down, did you hold them to less than 4 yards? Second down, if the offense splits the difference, so if it's 2nd and 8, if they get 4 yards, they won. Less than 4, they lost. Third and fourth down is did you get a stop? Just kind of explain my game grades for you. Here's an example of a good grade. So here's our player, it's Joe Reef, excellent player for us. This was his sophomore year. He's going to Notre Dame. Great kid. But here's a good example of he got a B plus in this game, right? It's a good grade, right? Here's what an entire grade sheet would look like for us. B plus is pretty good. He had 1 tackle in that game. D lineman, 1 tackle, no sacks. Like, well, why did he get a B plus? Well, let's watch. Right? So here's Joe, right here. Now let's just watch his effort. I just picked a couple plays. Watch his effort, watch his get off, watch his technique. Right? He's got an inside move here, and we teach him if you got an inside move, go. Don't think about anything, just go. Right? He's from the backside DN. He's going to end up all the way almost on the pile on an outside pass play. It's damn good effort. Okay. Here's Joe. Good get off, good extension, gets in the backfield, slips up a little. I might have been nice and gave him an assist on that. Probably not, though. But, right. I mean, we're wreaking havoc here, right? That's a damn good football play. Right? That's a plus. Might not have got a stat, but that's a good football play there. I think this was the tackle he got. Here's Joe. Same thing. Inside move. All right, the guy might have beat him across face, but he made a nice read. Go. Down the line. Make a play. Sell out for the team. Right? Those are some great effort plays. Great effort plays. I'm doing okay on time.
Yeah.
Here's an example of 2 kids here in the middle. And there's our Mike and our Will. We just evaluated from a few plays. Right? He was an excellent player for us. He was a pretty good starter for us. He got hurt near the end of the season, but the main comments here, right? He's really reading through the garbage well, and our Will's playing a little high. Good read through the garbage, make tackles. Good. These 2, boom, boom. Right? Too high. Okay. These 2 guys. Too high. Right? Let's watch the mic. Good. Through. Great play. So we see a few repeats of those. And what were their grades? Well, the Will linebacker had a B minus. Pad level on contact is concerning. That's what I put down on them. We got to work on that, right? He's way too high. He's in the right spot. He's doing some nice things. He made a few other tackles in that game, but we're high. You only got a B minus, right? We're talking if you're staying lower and you're getting off those blocks, we're going B, B plus, A minus. Mike linebacker, excellent football game, A minus. He was all over the field, made tackles, got off blocks, right? He did way above and beyond what we would have expected him to do. It's not always pretty, right? This was a bad one. C, B, B, A minus. He played unbelievable. B minus, D, D, right? C's. If you see this and you play a good team, you probably got rocked. This one didn't go well for us, right? What do these mean in our grading system? If you get a D, it really puts you on warning that your performance is bad enough that if you get another D, you are probably going to get passed up by somebody. If you graded out an F, your performance hurt the team and you will get benched. Have I given an F to people? Not recently, way in the past. Yes, that has happened. It's tough, but it's a pretty open and honest conversation you need to have with a kid. So that's all I got for this talk right now. I don't know if there's anything going on in the chat or anyone's on here. But if you got any questions, let me know. Coach Steve, I don't know if you had any questions or anything you saw or wanted to talk about.
I just saw some former baseball players that probably need some talking to on that list when I coached baseball at York.
Yeah, you probably recognize a few of those names.
I did. I saw Sitka and Connors in them. Like, come on, man. Like,
they're all on there.
I saw some of those. I can't remember if you said this on you yourself come up with the grade, right? Like you decide if that's an A or a B, or is there a
Correct.
thing that shows it?
We have we have a scale that our coaches follow, like we grade by position group that we generally follow. But yeah, we ultimately come up with the final grade.
Okay, I didn't know if that was something you put in or did it yourself, because we tried it here and we had to come up with the criteria of what this, and there were some debates of like, why is this a B? Why is this a C? And I guess just depends on your level of like, well, do you really think this is good? Do you really think it's bad? And like showing them, but it's something you tell your kids right away, like this is how it works. So
Yep.
if you have a disagreement, go back to this, and this is why. And film don't lie, so show this. And that's the part we're trying to do that here. We're curious about of how people come up with that criteria of A minus. Is this a C? Is this a D?
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of, since I'm not a big fan of, but like a lot of people do like the plus minus thing, right? And it's like, oh, you got all pluses. Well, the fact of the matter is, if a kid steps on the field for 8 plays, right? How do I efficiently grade him for his 8 plays, right? So he has to have an impact on the football game in some way, shape, or form. Could be positive, could be negative, could be neutral, right? If he goes out there and he does his job right, does it fine, no mistakes, that's a C. If he gets out there for 8 plays and, he got off a block and made a tackle, he made a nice read on something and, prevented a pass play, this or that, now his grade starts trickling up. If he's out there and, right, you get a loaf, you get a missed assignment, now your grade starts trickling down. So we do have a hard set rules that we could follow. We do follow those mentally, but when I have new coaches start doing this, I do have them go through one by one and like check it off. Like, okay, yeah, he played, 50 plays and, he had 10 pluses, 2 minuses. So his grade ended up being, an 83. Okay. That's a B. Put down a B, right? But you get to a point where you've done it enough, then you can be a little bit more subjective about it.
Will you also grade practice film or just games?
We have graded practice film in the past. Our practice film is more of like us sending out things we did wrong by position group. I'm actually going to talk about this a little bit in my next talk too, of the how and the why and what's too much versus what's not enough, because like these kids have other things going on. So you need 5 to 10 minutes of practice film that's like, here's 6 plays we did wrong. Here's how we should do it right from an old game film or from practice. This is what we need to work on tomorrow. Instead of grading the overall thing. Because practice film, especially when you get into game week, right? If it's Tuesday night, you have practice Tuesday. Well, when are you evaluating that practice film? So that by Wednesday at 3:00, when you have practice, those kids have seen it and they know it, right? Because if you don't get it done by the next day, how are you going to get it corrected? So we try to make it as fast as a turnaround as possible. In camp, like in our summer camp, we have a lot more time to talk about it. But.
Right, because we tried that and took a lot of time. Like, okay, are you doing drill grading? Are you doing just inside run? Are you doing, just
I'm trying to be on that one.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, so that's why we were like, let's look more at like execution. Like you can look actually, instead of grading it, look at this block, you're too high. Look at this tackle, you missed it because you're too high.
That's what we do.
Position group, that's when you can do that. And then obviously you do that in the game, but now if you put it to paper, they can see it.
Correct.
And all of us coaches, we're doing multiple sports or we got families. We got to watch film anyway. Why do we want to grade practice? A game, you got all weekend to like get that stuff done.
Yeah. Practice, you really need to. And I think there's a difference between camp and game week.
Right.
Like your install, you could probably spend a little bit more time on to make sure everything's done fundamentally right. By the time we're getting into the season, there's really specific things we need to work on for the game on Friday night that we need to look at on practice film.
Right. Well, Coach, that was awesome. Guys, reach out to him. He's got good stuff. I tried to put all over Twitter. They just did go to state, so there's some good stuff just getting down to state. Coach will be back in a few minutes on another one, and I'm interested in that stuff because we were talking. We need a lot of information to build up a program and get it going. So, thanks, Coach. He'll be right back in a couple minutes. Thanks, Coach.
All right.